What do you guys have on your 1042 bingo cards? Because I have to say, I for one did not have Kaido flirting with Luffy on mine. Hello humans of the world, I'm Dawn of the World, welcome aboard. Just so you know, this week's chapter discussion may feel a bit more rushed than last week, and editing might be a bit of a rush job because as it is, it's like 4 hours before I'd like to have this due, so I don't know if I'll be able to publish it by my personal deadline. I'm very busy this week and over the next couple of weeks, working on various student film sets, mostly as a production designer, so I'm tasked with purchasing and making a variety of props, everything from bird poop to a cult god statuette. And tomorrow is bird poop day. So chapter 1042 was a very condensed action chapter. While last week we were jumping all over town, this week we were quite static, only spending time briefly with Drake and then in the flower capital before focusing on the main attraction of Luffy versus Kaido, with of course a couple of cameos from other characters at that moment when Kaido really went off. So we open on this really strong visceral image of Drake stabbing this CP0 agent through the chest, which is pretty unhealthy for the Cypherpole agent. I feel like I'm going to be saying the Cypherpole agent or the CP0 agent a lot in this video, but over on Twitter, Randy Troy named him Dripper Scarfino, I believe, so I'm going to use that. So anyway, this part with Dripper and Drake was quite interesting, and just in the style of recent chapters, it only raised more questions than it answered. Why did Dripper say Drake why? Like, shouldn't it have been obvious as to why? A government agent versus a pirate, or a government agent versus a member of Sword? Either way you look at it, these two are enemies, and enemies tend to stab each other. By the way, I'm sweating. These lights are really hot, and it is like 99% humidity in Sydney at the moment. It's gross. Literally dripping. Anyway, I mentioned a few chapters back that it almost felt as though Dripper and Drake shared some history just based on the familiarity of which Dripper was addressing Drake. Just the casualness. And that carried over into this chapter, which kind of had me thinking, did they share some kind of childhood or known each other in some kind of capacity otherwise? Or am I just reading into something that isn't there? What are you guys' thoughts? If these two know each other, how do you think they know each other? Far-fetched and very likely incorrect answers only. Furthermore, Drake's answer as to why, with the response that he's enacting his own sense of justice, which makes me wonder if the why subject of Dripper's question wasn't so much about the stabbing as it was about the whole mission or whatever it is that Drake is doing, with him being an undercover marine with his pirate sonar and what have you. Interesting again is that Dripper tells him that he envies him, I guess, for enacting his own sense of justice, which indicates that Dripper as a Cypherpole agent can do no such thing as acting on his own sense of justice, but kind of wishes that he could. And it makes me wonder, if Dripper were able to act on his own sense of justice, what would he do? I never really thought about this until now, but the Cypherpole agents really lack agency. They're selected as children and they really have no say in the matter. Like in the case of Mother Carmel and the Lamb House, they can even be trafficked for the purpose of becoming government agents, government property. One Piece is a series with such a poignant theme of freedom, and now that I think about it, where the Pirate King is the person on the ocean with the most freedom, the Cypherpole agents are really some of the people on the ocean with the least freedom. In a way, they're almost glorified slaves of the world government in that they don't have their own agency, they can't enact their own sense of justice, and they don't have their own free will. And on that delightful note, let's move right along. Over a wild series of drunken moods, Kaido inwardly remarks that Snake Man's ability to alter the trajectory at a whim is something Rubber shouldn't be able to do. And my dude, my guy, my Chad, if there's anything this fandom has become increasingly more certain of in recent months, from Who's Who's revelation to the Gorosei's cryptic conversation to their order to the CP0 to eliminate Straw Hat Luffy, it's because Luffy's devil fruit is not the Gomu Gomu no Mi as we've thought for the past 25 years or close to. Did the theory of Luffy's fruit not being the Gomu Gomu fruit exist before Wano? If it did, That's really interesting. Let me know, and what were the hints back then? And if Luffy's fruit is not the Gomu Gomu fruit, then what is it? Is it the Nani Nani no Mi? That's what it's looking like at the moment. Whatever it is, it still negated Enel's lightning abilities, so at the very least it must have some kind of rubber-like properties. But anyway, Luffy's fruit being the Gomu Gomu no Mi is something that we've thought of as fact from day one, chapter 1, and it's really feeling like the rug is about to be pulled out from underneath us. This potential huge revelation on the horizon and everything. And again, weekly reminder that Oda has told us to keep watching Luffy. Watch him as carefully as whoever has been assigned to babysit Zoro on a new island to make sure that he doesn't wander off into the wilderness like a coyote into the wild. It's a bad example because coyotes are probably decent at directions. Anyway, keep watching Luffy. Our man is the main character and is about to do something very big very soon, as heavily implied by Oda himself. Which is why I'm skeptical about Luffy just not getting up next chapter, or next time we see him if we don't go straight into a Kaido flashback. Yes, this could be a good narrative low point for the raid, but given how Oda has told us to keep watching Luffy, and given the recent crumbs of information, of hints, that this devil fruit is not what we thought it was, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that we're about to see a brand new level of Luffy power, and that this will have been triggered by the defeat at the end of this chapter in some kind of adrenaline-induced flight or fire response. Regardless, the way this chapter ended threw a huge curveball into the entire battle, which I will elaborate further on in a moment. I won't go deeply into the details of the other aspects of Luffy and Kaido's fight throughout this chapter, but I really think this chapter showed us part of why Kaido is considered to be the strongest creature on their planet. He just keeps tanking and tanking all of these hits, and he doesn't seem to deplete in energy like the way Luffy has been from using his gears. Luffy seems to be using a lot more energy than Kaido in his fight, but he's still putting up enough of a fight that it's fun for Kaido. And also, Kaido has been fighting most of this battle while drunk, as Luffy has pointed out a couple of times now. We've seen so many different drunk Kaido personalities. There's one for every day of the year. And I wonder, does his drunkenness really affect his power in any way? Does it play to his advantage or disadvantage? Either way, he's a strong boy. But anyway, this chapter's ending where Mr. Scarfino shows up really threw a curveball into the mix. Luffy and Kaido's fight has been compromised, just as Oden and Kaido's fight had been all those years prior, and I don't think that Kaido is going to be a happy boy about it. We've all met Sad Boy, and now we're gonna meet Sadder Boy. And now I have to wonder what's gonna become of Dripper after all this. No, I feel like there is possibly going to be more to this Cypher Pole story than we realize, so I can't really see him dying just yet. Based on that alone, you know, based on his interactions with Drake, I feel like there's something more there, so I can't really see him dying anytime soon before we get answers as to what that was. The fact that this chapter's ending was so surprising is actually kind of funny, since the CP0 were literally given the order to eliminate Luffy last chapter, and I guess heaps of people, myself included, kinda laughed at them. I mean, we looked at the way that Dripper and company were regarding the Luffy versus Kaido fight. It's far more intense than even they had imagined. And we all thought, yeah, nah, they're not going to intervene. I mean, that's literal Kaido. And Luffy, who's matching him, how is he going to intervene in something like that? Well, by distracting Luffy and getting Kaido to do the legwork. Or I thought, oh no, they're going to wait for Luffy to defeat Kaido, and then once that's done and Luffy's exhausted, they're gonna drop him then. I speak for myself, at least, when I say I was not expecting Dripper to come and interfere in this fight. Like, Dripper, what are you doing? Because to me, last chapter, Dripper didn't even seem like he wanted to intervene. But as the dialogue he exchanged with Drake earlier in this chapter suggests, the Cypher Pole don't really get a say. When they get given orders, their own personal thoughts and feelings are essentially overwritten, which is really pretty sad, because Dripper and his buddies, Rob Lucci, Kaku, all of those guys, they are not free. And now this is making me think about Robin also. Are they not done with her this arc?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Not only has she and pretty much every other pirate we know been done dirty by the world government, but the world government's own lapdogs have been done dirty by the world government. And if there's anything that these lapdogs are taught, it's probably that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. But what if they bit back? Wouldn't it be cool if by some point before the end of the series, if members of the Cypher whole like Dripper Scarfino here ended up turning on the world government, finally braced their own sense of justice and turned on the people who had essentially stripped them of their agency, of their free will, of their freedom from childhood. It'd be kind of like when the evil villain's sidekick turns on them at the 11th hour. Not gonna lie, I would kind of love that, and maybe I should do a video on that at some point. Anyway guys, let me know what you think of the chapter below. Thank you as always for watching. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Bye guys.